Alright, let's get Spider-Man up in this grill. This is Amazing Spider-Man 627, and it has a pretty much perfect cover. This cover is by Lee Muntz. He also does the interior artwork. And this is written by Roy Sternman, and it is a sequel to his story from the 80s with Juggernaut. A story that didn't need a sequel, especially considering Spider-Man has fought Juggernaut at least 4 times since that story. But this was during the Dan Slott regime, so something like this was a godsend. It was also, I suspect, a con to try and rope people like me into buying the book again. Ever since the marriage fell apart, Spider-Man lost a huge chunk of readers, and Dan Slott and his roster of accomplices, they were not bringing anyone back. So let's get Roy Sternman to do a sequel to Nothing Can Stop the Juggernaut, to try and bait those stubborn people with discerning tastes. And we still have to put up with the abysmal supporting characters, like the new girlfriend, who is based on Jose Quesada's daughter, and who is meant to be more appealing than Mary James. It is easy to say fuck this book early on. Spider-Man, he spots something like a meteor plummeting to Earth, and he begins to investigate where it has landed. And since the cover told you already, it is Juggernaut. This is a terrific way to start a story and set up a threat. Summit has beaten Juggernaut. Really effective beginning, which loses all impact when the exact same thing was done in the 90s verbatim, and it was the only good part of that story. It's not Roy Sternman's job to know that, but any editor worth off their weight in sugar would have pointed this out. And speaking of editors, Roy Sternman is a pretty good continuity buff, but I think Excellent Men past issue 150 is not his strong suit. He acknowledges those other stories with Spider-Man fighting Juggernaut. We have Spider-Man Team Up 150 and Peter Parker Spider-Man 84. And then later, the Kurt Busey one. But he seems unaware or neglectful of the Excellent Force crossover. And yeah, Summit has beaten up Juggernaut, and it's actually quite boring. I think it does lose a lot of steam by virtue of the Juggernaut thing already being done. It is Roy Sternman, so it's not bad. But yeah, a bit of a flat note on the trombone. This story does pick up after this setup, and after this story, it is the basis for Juggernaut ending up on Thunderbals in Jeff Parkman's run. So that is worthwhile. And I always like these bits in stories where the main characters do what I would do, which is try and phone up other people like Doctor Strange and Dr. X and let them know that something is going on with Juggernaut. And then after this, we have this bit with Spider-Man thinking about who could have possibly done this to Juggernaut. And the way that it doesn't point out Onslaught Man has done this before really cheeses me off. This is the perfect time to have a throwaway line and admit that this story beat is a rehash. Just a quick line with Spider-Man after he has considered Silver Surfer and Hulk as people who potentially could have done this. Have him think to himself, I hope Onslaught Man is not back. And then Spider-Man next, he finds a car that somehow ended up on top of a bridge, which he doesn't clock as being linked to Juggernaut, and he thinks that the driver is just a drunk. We have 2 painful pages here with the horrid new supporting characters. I did read them, but I am not giving them the time of day in this video. Spider-Man goes to visit Juggernaut, who is imprisoned and receiving medical care for his injuries. And this is very decompressed, and I didn't think it really works with Roy Sternman. It feels like they had a Roy Sternman script and they edited it to pad it out. Also, a lot of adverts which will not be helping the pacing. So, Spider-Man, he goes to try and get Juggernaut to spill the beans and tell him what has happened and what did this to him. And up here is the reference to the Kurt Busey Avengers story, Avengers 25. And part of me wonders if the Onslaught Man thing and the Excellent Force crossover, I wonder if not referencing them is part of the 90s are bad shite. Roy Sternman sadly does occasionally dabble into that cesspool. He also thinks the Spider-Man marriage was awful too. Really disappointing when a great writer is just wrong about certain things. It was Captain Uni-Verse Man that did it though. Captain Uni-Verse Man beat up Juggernaut. That is the cliffhanger ending to a comic that didn't have much happen. I'm not going to sit here and slam a Roy Sternman comic. I think he did his best, but there was a lot of bullshit with Spider-Man at the time. Most of the flaws I would blame on other people involved, like crappy editors who didn't point out or insist that the main plot beat in this has been very famously done before. And also Dan Slott, who was still overseeing everything and still controlling the series when he wasn't writing. I didn't mind the entire story, but this as an issue by itself doesn't have much to enjoy. I actually didn't get this issue when it came out. I started with part 2 And then I went back and got this, and I think I was always disappointed with it. Besides the cover, which is brilliant, 7 thumbs up.